People will eventually come in here. This is a impromptu video of the day, so we'll wait a little bit. Maybe I'll play like a intro, like an intro minute. Let's see. Should I do an intro minute? Let me see. Right here, intro minute. What's going on, everybody? And hi. How the hell are you? It's been a long time. I've been gone for the week. What is today? Friday. So I was out of town. I was out of town Monday. I got back last night. Well, let's just put it that way. I got back around 8:00 last night. I was at the Freight Waves event. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, I like going to the Freight Waves events because I like the tech side of the freight industry. So I was happy to go and see that. We got, a big stack of business cards and a couple of the companies that we did see and a couple of the demos. Our CEOs like, cool, we got to have that. So we're going to be doing that. So that should be good. And, yeah, it's just good. It's I'm happy to be home though. I kind of miss my family a little bit, trying to figure out some of the stuff that's going on lately. But today is interesting because the freight market, it did something weird. And I don't know what it is, but it got it was like, Steve, you say this is easy. I'm going to make you work. And so all day long, I've been actually having to, spend a lot of time negotiating. I got a crap ton of phone calls done today on just trying to find loads for some of our drivers. And, what was a good market when we sent them in, right? Like, for example, Jersey, coming out of Jersey was decent like a week ago when we started booking all these loads. But now coming out of Jersey is horrible and it's not paying crap. And, yeah, so it's funny. That's the one reason I really, really enjoy this industry is because it changes. It's so volatile. The market is so volatile. The rates change all the time, and I like it. It's fun. But this morning, many people may or may not know there's a lot of stuff going on about freight transparency or not freight transparency, like broker fraud and fraud in general and trucking thefts and all that stuff. And I thought maybe I'd explain just one thing in the trucking industry that many of you may or may not know. And it does make sense that people do it. For example, as a carrier, when we go and book loads with brokers, oftentimes the broker will say, we need to call the number that's listed on the government website, the SAFER, the FMCSA. We need to call that number to verify that you are who you say you are and that you are, in fact, booking the load for the carrier, for your driver, for your company. And that's become standard practice. I mean, we did that when I was a broker way back when. We'll do it on, when our brokerage side goes live. It's part of the standard course of business because you want to make sure that the people that are booking the loads aren't stealing the loads, right? I mean, self-explanatory. However, the brokers apparently really do not like that when carriers do that themselves. So, like, for example, I booked a load this morning. Now, I don't do it all the time. I kind of use my judgment. I've been doing this a long time, but I kind of use my judgment. So if I'm booking a load from a freight broker, If it's someone that I've worked with a lot, or if it's one of the really big companies and I'm familiar with what their contracts and rate confirmations look like, I don't stress about it too much. Whereas if I'm booking a load with a relatively new broker, someone that we haven't worked with, I typically, as soon as I get the rate confirmation from them, I verify all the details first on the rate con, make sure it's a good rate, the rate we agreed to, blah blah blah, no hidden fees or anything on the rate con. But then I also look up the broker on Safer, and then I call them, the main number that's listed. And it's super easy, super fast. Something every carrier should do, whether you're one truck or 100, because basically all you're doing is you're calling the number listed on Safer. You get through to a person, ideally not the person you booked the load with, although if they answer the phone when you dial the Safer number, they work there. And then you just run through hey, I booked this load with so-and-so broker. Can you confirm the load number? Can you confirm the rate and pick up city and state, blah, blah, blah. And that's it. It literally takes like 30 seconds. But for some reason, when I called the broker this morning, whoa, they were mad. They were mad. And I even told them in the beginning that I was going to be doing it, but they were still mad. And so I was like, whatever, I'm still doing it. And I get the rate confirmation. They made me wait a half an hour for the rate con. Now, I have this little thing I do as a dispatch. So when I'm dispatching trucks, I give them the benefit of the doubt for 15 minutes. So if I book a load with them and they say, okay, we're going to build the load and send it over, I wait about 15 minutes. If I don't have the rate con in 15 minutes, I call again and I say, hey, I don't have the rate con. And they're like, yeah, we're building it. We're building it. I say, all right, well, I'm going to call you in another 15 minutes if we don't have it. Why would I do that? Well, because I'm actively still calling on loads. And the reason I still do that, I give them a 15-minute buffer, right? So if they send the rate con over to me within 15 minutes, boom, and everything checks out, good, that's the load. We're all happy. We're all making money. If they send the rate confirmation to me in 15 minutes and it's not what we agreed on the phone, then we have an issue. Or if they don't send the rate con, at least I was calling on other carriers or other brokers in order to make sure that I have a backup plan if the load never comes. Like if the rate con doesn't come, or they're spot quoting their brokerage customer and they didn't get the load because someone else undercut it. So this broker was eating or doing something the first time I called and said, hey, it's been 15 minutes. He's like, yeah, I'll send it to you. And I said, okay, by the way, I do verify the rate con with Safer. So I have to call your company and get it. And he's like, yeah, no problem. So finally, I get the rate con right around the 30-minute mark, right after I called him the second time, right around the 30-minute mark. He actually answered the phone saying, I just sent it. And I'm like, all right. And I said, I'm going to figure it out and deal with it in a minute. See, I knew this was going to happen. Everybody hold on. Sorry. I'm still working. So, and see how I didn't know what the call was because I don't say phone numbers. So I muted my mic and I turned off the camera so you lip readers can't find out what I was doing. Anyway, so I called the main number on Safer listed for this carrier. Don't get any response from him. So I'm like, or actually, in fact, it's not that I didn't get a response. It goes to a voicemail or like the whatever you call it, the greeting, the phone greeting. It's like, hey, thank you for calling, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, press 1 for accounting, press 2 for this, press 3. So I press 1 for accounting just to go to accounting. Then I get when you call a Verizon phone when it's disconnected and they're like, oh, the number you've calling is no longer in service. So I was like, that's really weird because I called the main number. And then I'm like, maybe they just forwarded it. Maybe that it's after hours or something like that. So then I hang up, I call again, I dial in a different extension. Same thing. Then I call a different extension and it rings and rings and rings and I don't hear anything. So then I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I call the guy back and I'm like, hey, I need a number to verify this load with somebody else in your company. I don't care who. Just give me a phone number so I can verify that it's a real load. And he's like, oh man, I don't have time for this. Are you going to call the shippers too? I don't have time for this, cursing. And so I said, I don't have time for this either. I'm canceling the load and I'm not going to work with you guys anymore. And that's what you should do. because essentially you're protecting your interests as a freight broker. You're protecting your interests as a carrier. Like everybody should want to do that. Freight brokers should want carriers to call them and verify that the rate con that they are sending to them is real, is authentic. I don't know why this broker thought, and it was really funny because he had to send the email to our main, or he had to send the rate confirmation to the main email account, which is, it's just stupid, it's just dumb. I don't know why people don't like to verify things. It just, I hate it. I hate it. But it made me think a little bit more about it, because there's this ongoing dispute between Truckstop and, people that say they work in the industry that don't. Because at the FreightWaves event, the Truckstop CEO was up on the stage and she was talking about it. And she was talking about, load board fraud and basically fraud that takes place on load boards. And for anyone that doesn't know, because I know I have a lot of people that don't watch or don't understand the trucking industry. For anybody that doesn't know, a lot of times what will happen is someone will book a load, right? And they're a carrier that has like 17 authorities, MC numbers, and they'll book a load with a broker A. And then they have a brokerage as well, and they will then post that load on DAT through their brokerage, effectively double brokering the load. Not effectively, double brokering the load. That's literally what it's called double brokering, because they booked it as a carrier and then put it out as a broker, as if it was their own load. And oftentimes they'll put it out for more than they're even making on the load. So for example, say you book a load with XYZ broker, and then, ABC broker then takes that load and is posted out for more than XYZ broker posted initially. You could come to the conclusion that there's something wrong, right? Because how are they going to pay more money than what they're getting paid to do? That is what the major issue is that's going on in the industry right now. And then you have cargo theft and all that. And I could talk about that at some other time. But essentially, one of the ways to combat that is to make sure you're working with reputable companies. So making sure that the trucking companies you're working with, have been in business long enough. And I know there's a big dispute about whether new trucking companies should be turned down for freight. I think that, like, for example, when our brokerage authority goes live, we're not going to book freight with anyone that's under 6 months unless we have a relationship with them. If that driver ends up finding himself near Chattanooga in our offices and wants to come and introduce himself and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I would love to be able to haul your freight, but I've only been in business for 2 months. Guess what? We'll probably let him at that point, because we put a face to the name. He established a relationship and we're good at that regard. But the problem is people are on social media buying MC numbers for a couple $100, setting up a trucking company within 3 or 4 days, booking a ton of freight, brokering that freight through another affiliated company, and then ripping everybody off as it goes. And that's what's widely it's happening with an insane it's happening so much on social media, where they're getting authorities and they're posting loads and booking it through the load boards. Now Truckstop says that they're trying to fight it. I don't know. I mean, they say they're surveying 10,000 plus, brokers and carriers, and they're being proactive at trying to remove problem carriers and things like that. And rightfully so, they should. And Craig Fuller at F3 asked the Truckstop CEO if their competitor, which is the DAT load board, if their competitor is doing enough to combat, freight broker fraud or load board fraud. And of course, the competitor, she didn't say anything. She didn't say yes or no. She just said, what do you think? Or something like that, and didn't answer the question, which basically meant, hey, they're not doing enough. And I get that. And then some people online are commenting about how for the past 10 years they've worked and they haven't experienced any fraud and blah, blah, blah. And it's, good. Good that you haven't experienced it. And I'm not saying that the load I was booking this morning had any sort of load board fraud or anything like that, because I don't know. The only thing I know is that the broker gave me attitude, and we don't need to work with him. I ended up booking a better load for the driver anyway, so it's really weird, and I guess the message or the main theme of this, short little live video I'm doing, the main theme is that if you're a carrier, you should be calling to verify, especially if you're booking with like a satellite office or an agent or something like that. If the number doesn't match, like if the number you're talking to the broker on doesn't match the number on Safer, then call and verify through Safer, get to, accounting, ask them to verify the load. They're so used to doing it. Takes about a minute. It doesn't take any extra time out of your day in all reality, especially if you do it as that's like your job. You know what I mean? Well, like, that's your procedure. That's what you do every single day. When you book a load, it's not that hard to do. You know what I mean? So that's it. I wasn't going to talk a whole hell of a lot about stuff because I'll be honest, I'm freaking exhausted. It's been a long week. I walked around like crazy at this conference. We were up late every single day, doing all the meeting and networking and doing all that stuff. So it's just been busy and I'm worn down. So my plan is to take the weekend off, including tonight, and then I'll resume with Freight Broker Live starting on Monday. But I wanted to provide a quick little update for you guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about that story and then just go from there, But so that's it. PJ, I do see your email. Just give me to the weekend. I'll reactivate that email and send it. I did get your message as well. And I think I sent you a message one other time about a refund. So I will try to figure out where that is. But yeah, the coffee website, I guess I didn't pay the Gmail account or something like that. So I just got to pay the $5. Someone said, wait, you mean you shouldn't see ya when you're doing business? I don't know what that means. But yeah. And also, there's going to be something different with the coffee side. I guess I could talk about it real quick. So we're going to start doing a different setup for puretruthcoffee.com. So when you order coffee on Pure Truth Coffee right now, we have like 40 different flavors. We got tea, we got some shirts and stuff like that. And a lot of people are still buying, which is really great. But I've noticed that people are searching for the coffee that you're familiar with, like the Awake Not Woke, the Wake Up America, Victory or Death, pardon my French, those ones. So what I'm going to start doing every single month is we're just going to do a limited. So I'm probably in the next week, I'll remove all the other coffee blends that we have on there. And we're going to do a limited run of 4 different flavors every single month. They'll ship once a month just to make it a little bit easier for everybody. And to help me make sure that I get the orders out on time, because most of you guys know that's something that I struggled with in the past. So, and each one, it'll come with all sorts of stuff. You'll see it online, kind of like the old Patriotic boxes, but way cheaper and, more coffee, less, other stuff. So it'll be cool. So just stay tuned to that. That's on puretruthcoffee.com. Probably over the next week. Eventually we'll start putting the Rational American magazine in it. April's going to help me write that. We'll publish a magazine every month with the news, because I know a lot of you guys miss politics and stuff like that. And to be honest, I don't miss it that much. Maybe a little bit, just a little bit, like the debates the other day. Woo. But yeah. So I figured we'll write the articles and those will be enough, hopefully, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, if you can't tell, I'm tired. I'm having a hard time even focusing on what I'm trying to say. But I appreciate all you guys for watching. I haven't been around, so that's why I made this quick little video. And I will see all of you guys on Monday, 8 o'clock Eastern, for an all-new Freight Broker Live. All right, we'll see you then.